Hey AP Lang, today is Thursday, and today we are going to talk about the commentary that you will want to include in your rhetorical analysis essay. So yesterday you guys watched that video. I wanted to include that one because I thought his perspective on how he reads scripts was really cool and stuff, and I thought it was a good metaphor for what you guys should do while you're reading. And they talked about evidence yesterday, so now it's like you've gotten that evidence in there. What are you going to say about that evidence? And it's pretty important. Okay, so commentary is where you explain, you have the evidence, why did you pick it, why is it important, you got to make that connection back to your topic sentence or to your claim. So we're going to look at 3 different ways to use, and we'll evaluate some student examples. So commentary, this is actually taken right from the rubric. I know people like to think about thesis and sophistication in terms of the rubric a lot, but in each of those categories, you can only get 1 point each. In the commentary and evidence section, you can get up to 4 of the 6 points. So that's pretty important. So I feel like if you can figure these things out, you're setting yourself up for success for sure. So straight from the rubric, it says that commentary explains how evidence supports a line of reason. Commentary explains how rhetorical choices in the passage contribute to the writer's argument. I found this metaphor that I thought was quite genius. So you can compare all of this to an iceberg. So the top of the iceberg is the thing that everybody can see. It's super obvious. This is like the evidence. So these are the quotes that you're pulling from the text. They're right there. You don't have to really search for them. The bottom of an iceberg is not quite as obvious. It's what's beneath the surface of the writing. You might have to do a little more exploration to figure it out, but this is your commentary. And the commentary is really important because it's where we're seeing, me, or your teachers, or the people evaluating are seeing what it is that you truly know about the choices the author was making. Okay, so these are the 3 different types. Examine the importance of the commentary, relate the rhetorical situation, and connect to your claim. So commentary explains the significance and relevance of the evidence in the passage in relation to the line of reasoning. So you always want to explain, why is this important? That to me is like the so what question that we talk about so often. So okay, you've told me this. It's great. You've noticed that awesome metaphor she used, but okay, why is it there? Explain how the rhetorical choices in the passage contributes to the writer's argument, purpose, or message. So that's just connecting it back to the whole rhetorical situation. And then the last one is explain how evidence supports a line of reasoning and connecting it back to your claim. So we'll look at those 3 things in a little more detail. Okay, so I would love it if you would, for a second, go ahead and pause the recording and read through these. I want you to take note of where you think the commentary is and where you think the evidence is. So I would just kind of jot things down, and I'll show you in a little bit what I found too. So go ahead and pause it and take a second to find, like I said, you want to find the evidence, which would be like the quotes directly from the text, and then the commentary, what the writer of the student samples were saying about that evidence. Okay, so the evidence is here in yellow and the commentary is in green. Commentary can be thought of as the discussion, analysis, answering the so what question. You want your papers to have more green than yellow, so that's really significant. So let's just look at sample A. In the letter, the overall tone is resolved. Gandhi is determined for only one true answer from Lord Irwin, which is the negotiation of India's freedom. From lines 46 through 50, we see the transition from his previous paragraph, which includes reasoning from wanting independence, to the claim that he will not take no for an answer. Gandhi states that if they cannot get independence from Britain, there will be continued action from India. In the end of the paragraph, Gandhi wrote, "This letter is not in any way intended as a threat, but it is a simple and scared duty." Gandhi believes that he has a godly duty to the people of India to gain independence. There is not a stronger resolve than to work with your religion. The overall organization of Gandhi's letters works together. With this tone, they both work in harmony to explain what Gandhi feels toward Lord Irwin. We know that Gandhi and the people of India have a strong resolve to stick to civil disobedience and nonviolent actions committed to help gain independence from Britain. Okay, so sample A, to me, does a good job of continuing the commentary. Now, if you look at sample B, which honestly I'm not going to read, they have the two different spots of yellow, which means they have included two pieces of evidence, but their commentary isn't nearly as long. And I think that often in class, that's what I would see something more like sample B. Now, sample B is not bad. I would give this one a 2 or a 3 out of the 4 on commentary, but sample A, it allows the reader to show their line of reasoning a little bit better. It answers that so what question. Okay, so why is that quote significant? It tells us about what Gandhi believes, and it says why that is important. And it kind of goes on and answers multiple questions. So A is actually a stronger answer. B is good. But you just have to remember it's not just about how much evidence you can get in. You do want to make sure that your commentary is going more in depth. So like I said, this is back to that good and great. I would say sample A is great, sample B is good. So neither of them is bad, but you want to make sure that you give yourself that room to go in depth. Okay, so we'll come back to those in a second. So we're going to look at examining the importance of the evidence you want to write about. So these are questions that you should ask as you're sitting there, you're reading, you've gotten this quote and you're like, I know this quote is so important, or these lines. You should walk yourself through these questions. What is this example stating? How is this choice seen in this example? What effect is produced by this example? Why would the writer make this choice? How would the piece be different and possibly less effective if the choice wasn't made? I thought that was a really good question. Like, if that example was taken out of the text, how would it be different? What would be missing? And I think that you'll have an awesome answer there. Why is this choice effective? Why is it so important to the piece? And how does this example or choice build upon a previous example? I really like the last one too, just because you always want to be thinking about how the author is building the argument rather than just like these examples standing alone. Because what they're saying in the first paragraph isn't going to somehow lead the reader or their listener to the second paragraph, and they want them to be feeling a certain way. So you should always be thinking about how these things build on each other. So once again, you would ask these questions once you found that evidence. If you can answer some of these questions about it, then you would write better commentary. So the commentary is what comes right after that great quote you found. The second one, this is an example, sorry, examine the purpose, show, don't tell. I am sure you've heard that from a lot of English teachers. I think we all want to say like, oh, here's a quote. Okay, well, that's great. You've shown me that awesome quote, but like, you need to, sorry, let me take that back. You never just want to be like, in a very general way explaining something. You should show what the writer is doing. So for example, in this quote, this is from a student example once again. The writer incorporates imagery such as dry and parched surface, even the bushes smell unpleasantly. This shows the writer is appealing to pathos because the islands are not a place someone would want to visit. Now, that would never be able to stand alone as a paragraph, not even close, but you can see that it explains the specific choice. The author is appealing to pathos because the islands are not a place someone would want to visit. Now, I would say to take that a step further, why? What is appealing to the pathos going to make the audience feel? Why is that significant? So wow, I wanted to include this example because I feel like it's like the beginning, but you would want to take it out a sentence or two and just make sure that you're not just telling, but showing what you want your audience to know. Okay, so this is back to another kind of commentary or more questions to ask yourself. So if you're wanting to relate your commentary to the rhetorical situation, you should ask yourself, how is the evidence persuasive to the audience? What does this reveal about the speaker? What does this suggest about why the writer had composed the piece? And so whenever it says this, it's referring to like your evidence. In what ways does this example or evidence reflect the time period in which it was written or delivered? How does this evidence help the writer achieve his or her purpose? And what does this example reveal about the message or argument being made? So once again, good questions, they kind of connect to that bigger picture. And then our last one, I think this should be a very obvious one that you are always thinking about. How does my evidence connect to my topic sentence and to the big claim I made in my first paragraph? In what ways does this example relate to what I'm arguing in my topic sentence? How does it connect to my claim? What is the main idea of this example? How does this relate to the main idea of the paragraph? And what does this suggest about the subject matter in my claim? In what ways does it present a deeper look at the subject matter? So once again, just having that cohesive connection, always going back to your claim, you would do that through your commentary as well. Okay, so we talked about sample B earlier. Here it is again. So you can, I'm not going to walk through and read every single thing, but you can see that I have labeled that after that first quote, they examined the importance, and then they did come back and connect to the claim in the second one. That is great, but once again, I think they could have gone in more detail in each of those sections. So just stop and pause it and evaluate it as you need to. Okay, then sample A, right at the beginning, they examine the importance, they connect it back to the claim, and they also bring in like the entire rhetorical situation. So they touched in each of those three areas that we kind of talked about, which also helps to make it just shows that the writer had a deeper understanding of the passage and was able to convey that in his or her writing. So a good sample to check out if you want to kind of make sure you've done all of these things. Okay, so your homework for today is you will find in Google Classroom there is a student sample, and you're going to go through and you're just going to add the commentary. So you'll see that the evidence is there, and you just need to, I would like try to challenge yourself to use different parts from those three things that we've talked about. Review these slides. Think back, is it the rhetorical situation you want to connect to? Is it your claim that you want to connect to? Is it that you're evaluating the importance? And back to those so what questions. So just kind of review these and try to challenge yourself to not just use the same one every single time, the same kind of commentary. And then we will kind of go from there. So hope you guys are doing well, and I will chat with you soon.